So when an investor comes to them and say, hey, I want 10% cash on cash return and $100 cash flow property, a lot of agents will be like, I have no idea what that means.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui. I'm pumped to talk to Sean McDonald today. He's from Surf City, North Carolina. He's a podcast listener, reached out, applied to be on the show. And you guys know I love getting to talk to people that are fans of the show. So any of you guys that are listening, so many of you reach out and message me and you say, I'm not sure if I can be interviewed yet. I'm not sure if I'm quite at that volume, and you would be surprised. So if you're a listener and you want to get interviewed, reach out to me. Let's talk about it. We'll figure out if you can get on the show and add value. But today is Sean's day. Sean's here to add value. Sean, how's it going, man?
Good, Aaron. Really excited to be here.
Yeah. So how long have you been listening to the podcast?
It's been about a year since I've been listening.
Cool. I took over the podcast about 2 years ago. So we still get some people on here that can compare me to Pat or any of the other. Right after we took over the podcast, I was kind of hiring and auditioning a whole bunch of different people to take over the podcast through that time. But you've only had me. You also mentioned offline that some of your favorite episodes are the episodes with David Green. He is a great podcast guest to have on here. Him and I always have a lot of fun. So if you guys are new to Real Estate Rockstars, but you're also fans of the Bigger Pockets podcast, look at some of the interviews I've done with Brandon Turner and David Green. We like to talk about news. We like to talk about skills. We like to talk about all sorts of stuff. So, Sean, when did you get your real estate license?
I first got licensed in 2019 after I got out of the Marine Corps.
So how quickly after you got out of the Marine Corps did you get your license?
So I went through the licensing course here in North Carolina when I was actually still active duty on terminal leave. Basically, it's like a month or two before you get out, you can use all of the leave that you've saved up. But I didn't start working full-time as an agent until January of 2020. So there was a couple months where I wasn't practicing full-time as an agent, but yeah, went through the course in 2019. How
long were you in the Marine Corps?
7 years.
Dude, so the Marine Corps for 7 years, did you do any crazy things during that time? I'll travel around the world or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see a good part of the world, a lot of the like Pacific, some Southeast Asian countries, Australia. It was a good time. I mean, very exciting, very high paced life. Very similar to being an agent in some ways, definitely different in others. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed my time in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, the fast-paced life has to prepare you to be an agent. But so you got your license, you kind of got approved while you were still in the Marine Corps. When did you realize you wanted to become an agent?
So it was just about a year or so before I got out, and I'll keep this somewhat brief, but my wife, Christina, and we got really interested in real estate investing while I was still active duty. We started investing in real estate in 2017 and just started trying to buy 1 or 2 properties a year. And that's really when I developed a passion for real estate. And I saw the benefits of buying and holding real estate and using it to, build long-term wealth. And then it was pretty clear too. And so 2018, we had our first son, and I knew, like, at that point, I did not want to do the military for a career, just because there's times where you'll be gone for significant periods of time. I didn't want to miss out on, my kids growing up. And I knew, like, if I didn't get out and try this whole entrepreneurial thing, then I probably would still be in the Marine Corps and do a career. So I decided to get out and, get licensed as an agent. But it really all came from, the investing side and learning about real estate through investing.
That's awesome. So 2017, you guys decided you wanted to buy 1 or 2 a year. Did you buy 1 or 2 a year?
We bought 1 in 2017, 2 in 2018, and yeah, it's been 2 a year since then. So,
right. So just 2 a year, nice and stable growth with that. Do you have a goal for how many houses or how many investments you want to own?
So we want to own 10 cash flowing rental properties by 2025. And that's not necessarily going to be enough for us to like retire or get out of the rat race, as people say, but it's really more of just the long-term wealth building plan, getting some passive income. And I know those numbers might not add up having 10 by 2025, but we'll probably sell 1 or 2 in the next couple of years too, and then purchase some better performing properties. But yeah, that's our goal.
We don't talk a whole lot about investing, but I want to talk about that for a second before we get into a lot of the agent stuff, because that is so right now, how many rentals do you have?
We have 6.
So you've got 6. You want to have 10 by 2025. But one of the things you pointed out was if you're buying 2 a year, you would technically have 15 by then. But you've already learned inside the process, like you got to start somewhere with rentals. But then you realize along the way, hey, what I learned with rental investing, I have a lot of rentals. I love it. Investing in real estate is the most fascinating, best thing I think anybody can do, whether you buy 1 a year, 10 a year, or it will add up over time. But when I first got in, I had to get older properties and ones that were a little bit tougher to manage because those tend to have the higher cash flow or the higher return. And I wanted to see that I was making a little bit of money, that after I paid the mortgage off, I was making $300 or $400 a month in rent. But then you also figure out with those properties that sometimes an HVAC goes out, or sometimes a roof goes out, or those older properties. So you talked about, hey, you're going to get to 10 by buying 2 a year, but then trading out a little bit, trading up a little bit. How do you decide which ones you're going to trade up and which ones you're not? Like, do you already have one that you're like, I can't wait to sell this one and trade it for a better one?
Yeah, we do. And it was, we wouldn't be here without this first property though. It was like our accidental investment, but it's just not a very well performing property. But it's the great thing about real estate is it's such a forgiving asset class that we're still going to do really well with this property, even though we've made nearly every mistake in the books. So yeah, you want me to go into some details on this one? Or
yeah, go into some details on it.
Sure. So I purchased this house before Christina and I got married, used my VA loan when I got stationed in North Carolina in 2016 and knew nothing about real estate. Looking back on it now, I was probably the dream client for an agent because I was super busy with the Marine Corps. I basically was like, hey, I don't really care what kind of house I want. I just want a house in this city. Here's my price point. And she showed me a couple of houses, my agent did. And I immediately put in like almost the full price offer and got it. And yeah, and it was a very like low stress deal. But once we got married, we moved into it. We found initially the Bigger Pockets podcast and started learning about real estate and rental property investing. I learned how to analyze rental properties and we ran the numbers on this house. And I was like, oh, this thing could, at least break even, if not cash flow, $100 a month. And so we decided to move and purchase a different property that we could house hack and then turn this house into just a long-term rental, which we did. And yeah, we started out self-managing it. I feel like we made like, every mistake in the books, like didn't manage these tenants well. They were nasty and, the house was not in good condition when they left. Put a lot of money into like just making it nice again. And then eventually we turned it over to a property manager though, and they've been managing it for us since then.
Yeah. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron and Muchastegi for a quick commercial break. So during 2020 and 2021, the real estate market completely changed. There's so much competition in the market, so many people trying to buy and sell houses, but there's hardly any supply, hardly any product, hardly anyone willing to list their homes. It's time for every agent out there to become a hybrid agent investor, to be able to reach out directly to homeowners to try to get them to sell or list their house. We've got a new website. Go to leadpropeller.com and you can set up your own investor buyer website in just minutes. You'll set up your own URL, set up phone numbers, help go through to leads, help reach out to people that aren't listing their property currently, and have them fill out a form that says, hey, I want to sell my house. And then as an agent, you can go through and make them a hybrid offer. You can tell them, hey, I think your house would sell for $220,000 on MLS, but I can either write you a $180,000 cash offer right now, or I can help you fix it up and you'll list it for $220,000 on MLS. These are buyers that are looking for quick cash offers. Tens of thousands are submitting these forms every single day, and they're skipping the listing process. But so many of you guys out there are such good agents, it's a great opportunity to get that lead and help them maximize sales price for their home. So again, go to leadpropeller.com and think about signing up for your own investor site so buyers will start reaching out to you, asking you to make an offer on their home. One of the things you said that I thought was great is you said real estate is such a forgiving asset class. And when I started in investing, I was doing a lot of flipping, and it was it was at a time when the market was falling, 2009, 2010, 2011. It was still kind of falling every month. So if a house was worth 200,000 this month, it was going to be worth 190,000 next month or 2 months from now. But we were buying them at like 140, 150. The nice thing about a falling market is some investors wanted out, or foreclosure would happen, or things like that. And so it was a very short term. It didn't feel very forgiving at the time. And so when we get assets, there'd be a lot of assets we would take losses on. And then because we'd be like, oh, we got the wrong one, let's just sell it and get rid of it. But it's really funny because every single property we ever lost money on, and some of them we lost a ton of money on, had we just thrown a renter in there and lost even $300 or $400 a month. Let's say we were taking a rental cash flow loss. We could have sold them a year ago or 2 years ago and still made money on them if we would have just. And then now with the market, I mean, what's happened to the market over the last year is beyond forgiving. It's like now it's just paying spades, and it's like hitting the jackpot, hitting the lottery. So yeah, it's real estate is a forgiving class. And agents, as you guys are talking about this too. A lot of you have investor clients, or you need investor clients, or it's something a niche that you've wanted to have. And so some of these little conversations about every investor needs to start somewhere. So as your clients are asking you about that, like how do you get this first one? Like the first investment does not have to be a home run. It can be a single, it can be a double, because real estate is a forgiving asset class. And if people have the good job, like you had a VA loan, you had a good job, even if you lost rent for a month or two, you could cover it. It's a little bit tougher. There's been some states over the last year that's been a little bit more nerve-wracking to be a landlord, right? I know a couple smaller landlords in Tennessee that haven't been able to collect rent at all and haven't been able to do any evictions. And when you only own one or two properties and it happens, that gets a little bit scary. But the market, I think, has made up for it. It's a forgiving, fun asset class to get into. So you had started investing while you were active duty. And then somewhere along the line, you said, when you had about a year left, you said, I'm going to get my license too. Was that mostly because you were like, hey, I'm in real estate anyway, and I just love it? Or was it, hey, I'll at least get the commission when we buy our own properties? What was at that time, did you picture being the agent you are today, or running the team like you do today?
No, not at all, Aaron. It's funny. Yeah, I initially the plan was for my wife to get her real estate license, and then I would just kind of focus on the investing side. But yeah, I really intended to just use it for ourselves. And then it wasn't too long after I started doing real estate full time, where, I just had, let me back up. After I got my license, there was like 6 months before I started as an agent full time. But during that time, I had a couple just friends and people from my network reach out and want to just buy a house. And so I helped them buy just a primary residence, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I loved the people aspect and connecting with people, helping serve people. And I realized, you can also make really good money as an agent. And that's why January 2020, I was like, I'm going to give this a try and just rock it and see what I can do.
There's so much fun stuff in there. There's a bunch of listeners right now that are super angry at you right now because you're saying, I got my license, I wasn't really going to use it, and then I kind of got a couple deals out of it. And we have some that come on, they're like, I tried for 6 months, but that is, I know there's a lot of listeners. I know a lot of people that get a license because they're like, I just should have a license. I'm interested in real estate as an investor. I just should have a license. Was there anything you did during that time? Like, so two people randomly came to you when you weren't heavily marketing yourself as an agent yet. Was there anything you did during that time that you think led to it? Was it just your personality? Was it just your friendships? Were you telling people about it?
I was telling friends and stuff about it, and then networking with other investors, and it's whenever someone knows that you have a license and you're top of mind for them, like they'll send their friends your way. And so I'm very connected with like the military population here. Lots of, I went to the Naval Academy before I commissioned in the Marine Corps. And so I have a lot of friends from the Naval Academy still and we move every couple of years, military people are getting orders every few years. So that's where, I guess I didn't mean to come across as like it's sounding too easy, or anything, but yeah, to your point too about investors who want to get their license, I've thought a lot about this, and I actually, like, even though that was my plan initially, I do not recommend it because it's really, there's a lot of costs that go along with just maintaining an active license, and it's not super beneficial in my opinion for investors who just want to get licensed just so they can like have access to the MLS.
I think that's great advice to give. There's somebody saying, I'm going to get my license just because. You're saying, no, don't get your license just because. If you want to be an agent, get your license. Right. If you're going to do it to do one transaction a year, it's not worth it. And I think that's the truth. I remember my wife used to be licensed, and when she was like, I don't want to be a broker anymore. I don't want to have employees. I want to close down. And so she could homeschool our kids. We were doing all sorts of stuff. And I remember going, shouldn't you keep it in place just for our deals? And she was like, I especially should not keep it in place just for our deals. Like I should not keep it in place just to buy the house we're going to move into. That's a horrible idea. So there's a lot more to that. So you're a team leader now. How many people are on your team?
So I have 4 agents on my team now.
What do you do? What are you guys doing for transactions a year?
So this year, I'm thinking we'll hit our goal. We set a goal in January to do 100 deals in 2021. Right now, we're at about 55 closed with another 25 under contract. So we'll be close if we don't hit it, but I'm confident we'll hit 100 this year.
And you are very close with those numbers. It's like, all right, you're going to be at 70 by early October. So can you get 30 in and close them? I mean, October is going to be a big month for you. You got to get 30 in escrow essentially by, November 15th.
Right.
You got to reach out to me in December. Let me know if you've got those 30 in escrow by then that you're about to close. I would love to see you hit your goal. So you've got a team of 4, and do you still do production yourself? So is it? I do. Is it 4 including yourself, or is it 4 or 5
including me? And I'm heavily involved in production still.
So is it a pretty even team? Is it 20 deals each? Is it a tiered where you're doing most of it and different people are doing different parts?
It's tiered right now. We have a couple new agents, so they're getting their feet under them. They both have onboarded in the past few months and have both closed at least one deal so far. But and then there's been 2 that have been with me since the start, and they're in double-digit deals.
Yeah, so you're on your second year essentially. So you were licensed in 2019, January 2020. You said, I'm going to be a real estate agent.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Then 3 months later, the world changed all sorts of different ways, and in some cases, it made it a lot harder to be an agent. It made it a lot harder to be a new agent. How many deals did you do in 2020?
2020, I did 24 deals.
That's incredible. It's incredible for your first year that you did that. What would you attribute that to? Like, how did you come out in your first year during a year where it was very tough to be a new agent? How did you stay consistent and get your 24 deals?
Yeah. So I really did a couple of things. I think overall, like, I feel very blessed to have that like success my first year. but I don't want it to come across as like, I mean, I worked so hard to get those 24 deals, and I'm not saying this to try and like boost my ego or anything, but I want to, I want to provide a life for my family where we can like achieve some level of time freedom in the future and be super present with my kids. And I start with that because I say like, I really put a significant amount of time into this agent life and to try into building this business. But what I did this first year that I think led to, some success was I niched down with like the real estate investing community and marketed myself as an investor friendly real estate agent, and kind of dove into that side of it. I found that a lot of real estate agents, they might be really good agents and really great at helping you find that perfect house with the perfect backsplash and paint colors. But a lot of agents I found do not understand the investing side. So when an investor comes to them and say, hey, I want 10% cash on cash return and $100 cash flow property, a lot of agents will be like, I have no idea what that means, or won't be able to help serve them like they need, or just don't speak the language.
Yeah. So how did your team growth go? So the beginning of 2020, you get there. At what point did you start adding team members, and what was that transition like to where it got to how it is today? Like, how'd you get your first team member?
So I started a real estate investing meetup here, and that is where I met 3 out of the 4 agents that have joined my team as they've come to that meetup.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. And we started it in the summer of 2020, and the first meetup event, like we had like 9 or 10 people. I was pretty excited. The second one, there was only like 4 people that showed up. It was two people who saw it on like the marketing channels we posted it, and my mom was there, so just for support, which love my mom. But I met 3 out of the 4 agents at those meetups, and that's been just a great, value add for the team.
Yeah. So what's the average price out in Surf City?
Our average sales price is $250,000.
All right. And so first year you did 20 deals. And what do you think your GCI was last year? What's it going to be this year?
So last year I did about 6 million in volume. And so the total GCI was about like 150,000. And then this year, me personally, I'm looking at 52 deals with about a $220,000 GCI.
Real Estate Rockstars, before this next commercial break, I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast, and thank you for listening to the commercials that we put in here. This is how we're able to push the podcast to you. This is how we can make sure that we publish so much content and keep providing value. So here we go from one of our sponsors, Rent Ready. All right, guys, we got to be honest here. You've heard so many of the Rent Ready ads over the past really 9 to 12 months, as they've been one of our flagship sponsors for so much of the stuff that we're doing. Rent Ready is a property management software, and we've told you about this, truly working to elevate the entire renting experience for landlords and tenants. But this time, this isn't just a boring old podcast ad. I'm not sure how many episodes we're going to run this on, but it's not just to help you maintain and screen tenants and run leases. This podcast ad is actually a secret. So this month, Rent Ready is releasing a game-changing feature that will help you save a whole lot of time and headache when it comes to crunching numbers on your rentals. I don't even know what it is yet. They wanted me to start doing this, and said, so while I can't share it yet, make sure that you stay tuned to the Rockstars podcast for that surprise reveal, because we'll have it on good authority that Rent Ready will be letting our listeners know that once top secret feature is ready. So in the meantime, if you're looking to get started on Rent Ready's powerhouse of a platform, I use it for a lot of my stuff. Get signed up, save 50% off on any Rent Ready plan using our special code Rockstar50. So that's 50% off any Rent Ready plan when you sign up using our code Rockstar50 at rentready.com. It's RENTREDI.com using the code Rockstar50 for 50% off any of them. And again, listeners, I got to say, Thank you for listening to our sponsor ads. And if you have any interest at all in trying, any property management software, we appreciate it when you go check out our sponsors, especially the ones where I'm telling you about it myself.
This episode is brought to you by KPMG Risk Services. KPMG believes that when you've earned the trust of all your stakeholders, that's when your business has a solid platform to grow. That's the trusted imperative. KPMG Risk Services develop and put in place dynamic risk strategies designed to help your business earn that all-important trust. Go to read.kpmg.us/trust to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football is back, and the best bet you can make is downloading the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It doesn't matter if you're new to gambling or an old pro, FanDuel has something for everyone. And as an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you know your bets are safe. There's also never been a better time to use FanDuel, because right now, you'll get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. You can even turn a small wager into a big payday with a same-game parlay bet. Just sign up with the promo code Spotify to place your first bet risk-free on FanDuel Sportsbook. Download FanDuel today. 21 plus and present in Virginia. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I was going to pull up a question. So I've had a bunch of people reaching out yesterday with random questions. And as you're, this gal says, hey, you're talking to a lot of people about like how they're succeeding. And we've heard a lot of people say like, I wish I would have known this at this time because I wouldn't have wasted so much money. And you're in this area where over your last 2 years, you've really been growing your business and your admin stuff. And so a question that came out, you said for a small team leader, how would they recommend structuring their business? Like, meaning, how do they structure? Do they do S corps? Do they do LLCs? How do they worry about like expenses and accounting, and how much of their income are they spending on marketing? I know that's a very like a broad question that I did not prep you with ahead of time. But but what are your thoughts about that as you run your team? Are you running it like a business? Do you think about outbound marketing as an expensive gross? Like, how do you structure all that works?
Yeah, I think, it's a great question, and something that I've learned a lot about this past year. I'm still learning a lot about it. And I don't think it's talked about enough among the agent population, but I structured my team. So we're under a larger firm, eXp Realty, but my team is in the business structure side is an LLC that's files as a S corp. So I quickly realized like I'm not smart enough to do these taxes when it comes to even just like our rental property. So we partnered with a solid CPA, and really, that's what I would recommend to agents. Find a good CPA who understands, how to structure real estate agent income and businesses. But we file as an S corp, and so all the commissions funnel through that organization, and then I pay myself out of there. On the expenses side, it's just much more tax advantageous to do this than having like the commissions go straight into like your personal bank account that you use every day. On the expenses side, I would really recommend to any new agent, even if you're not planning on being on a team, write out a business plan early and hold yourself to it and read it every week, if not every day. But it's so important to have your business plan and think through some of this stuff about how much expenses you want to have or what you want to keep it to, because it's a slippery slope where, there's lots of shiny objects. I suffer from the shiny object syndrome all the time, where it's like, oh, there's this new program or this new system. Like, we'll just, it's a write-off. So let's just add it and see what it does. But trying to limit your expenses while still, investing in the good systems is I'd say important. But for me personally, my big expenses for the team, we have overhead, $16,000 overhead of being a part of eXp. That's every year. I recently hired a coach to work with me. So that's a pretty significant expense. It's about $10,000 a year, but I'm so excited about it. There is, website marketing. Right now, that's about like $3,000 a month for us, but really trying to ramp that up in the future and even hire a full-time marketing director. And then we partner with a couple like admin support companies. So there's a transaction coordinator company that we partner with. We pay them a flat fee, $350 per transaction, and then a listing coordinator who we also pay a flat fee for. But those are our major expenses.
That was an awesome answer. That is so helpful. I know that when she hears this tomorrow, she's going to be like, yes, that is going to help me as I grow my business. I love what you said about writing a business plan now, because shiny object syndrome is big, especially in real estate. There's like, do you want this CRM? Do you want this CRM? Do you want this software? Do you want to get leads from Google? Do you want to get leads from Zillow? Do you want to do open houses? Do you want to do meetups? Do you want to host a real estate meetup? However it is, right? There's ways that people get to other team members. But being able to like just think about it and focus helps you. You can revisit that. You can revisit it every 3 months if you want to, but it'll at least help on the day-to-day decisions of like, no, the business plan is working. When you first wrote your business plan, did you have anybody that you reviewed it with? Did you have a mentor that you went and talked to about it? Or did you just review it with your wife and said, hey, does this sound like did you have anybody that gave you insight on it?
Yeah, no, my wife, she is amazing. And the one,
that's really the secret to life, right?
it sure is. But yeah, she helped me a lot, just work through some of this stuff early in my agent career. And then, so initially I would just kind of run things by her, run the numbers by her, be like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do this year. These are my goals. And she's super supportive, but I also found that, I didn't want my wife to be like my business partner in a sense. Like I want to be married to, I didn't want to be married to my business partner. Like, and so we have worked through kind of like how, each person's roles and responsibilities when it comes to our rental properties. And we've got a great thing going now. But I have a couple accountability partners that I talk with every week and help brainstorm some of this stuff with business plans and goals and everything.
Very cool, man. Yeah, that's what my wife says. She never wants to get licensed again because she never wants to work for me again or work with me again. We were not good business partners. Now she can be an advisor, and now she can give me advice on what I'm doing, or she can tell me when like, hey, Aaron, you're looking a little stressed out. Maybe you got to relook at this, or hey, you're doing this. But she knows my habits as she gets to see that. It's funny. We're recording this September 15th. This is actually publishing like a day after we're recording it. But today is tax day for businesses, where we're filing. It's the filing deadline for businesses out there. So your kind of comment about an LLC and S corp, and we definitely are not CPAs as we give tax advice on here. But I will get some CPAs on here to talk about it. But I do remember early on, so much of the income was kind of 1099 income, which looks really cool because you get it, you put it right in a checking account. If you're just an agent and you're not an entity structure, it looks like it goes up a lot, but then it's tough to expense things properly, and you usually end up owing taxes. And so the advice I give anybody when they're trying to set up a business at all, and then the other thing that would happen too, a lot of young agents, a lot of new agents end up intermixing expenses. So if you're just depositing your commission check into your personal bank account, the same bank account that you do with everything else, and then sometimes they're using a credit card to buy dinner, or sometimes they're using a checking account to buy dinner, and then they're trying to expense this stuff, or they're using this to pay for signs or ads or whatever, it gets complicated. And really the secret that I've recommended to everybody, if you're going to make over 50,000 a year, over 60,000 a year, and all of you are, right? Do not become a real estate agent if you don't want to make more than 60,000 a year, 65,000 a year. You got to come up with that business plan, and you should set it up the way at the beginning like it's going to be. Instead of my first construction company I started, I set it up as a sole prop. I didn't do all this stuff right because I was like, I got to see if this works. I got to see if I can actually get my license. I got to see if it's actually successful. I don't want to put my time and effort into forming this stuff if I don't know if I'm going to succeed. But what I learned after time is set up the LLC or the S corp. Really, and all of them, it's like getting taxed like an S corp. The benefit of that is if you're going to make more than $65,000 a year, you're going to get this self-employment tax on whatever income you have. So if you make $100,000 as a 1099, you're going to get like a 19% self-employment tax on the rest of your tax. But if you own it as an entity, you pay yourself a salary. So Sean, if he deposits $100,000, he can give himself a salary of $65,000. That salary is going to get that 19% employment tax, but the rest of it isn't, right? That extra $35,000 isn't. And then the benefit of that is you've got its own checking account. I tell people, get your own checking account and the own credit cards. Don't ever use a personal card to expense something in business. Like use that account, set up the entity at the beginning and be really diligent with it. Because if you're diligent with it, it makes tax time so much easier at the end of the year. I was digging through stuff today because I'm a procrastinator on all of that. My CPA, John, I love him. And I send a lot of people his way because he's so patient with me as I start messaging him this morning. I'm like, so we going to file my taxes today? But anyway, the setting up that structure with a plan at the beginning, a specific checking account, a specific credit card, you don't intermingle. And I think the way you have it set up right now, I'm so glad that your answer is so much in line with what advice I would have given. So now you're in real estate. Now, how are you getting most of your deals today as your team?
Yeah, so I'd say our biggest source of buyers is meetups and classes. So teaching events or doing, meetups in our area.
And what do you say for that? What do you call your teaching event and how do you get people there?
Yeah, so our meetups, and I have to give a huge shout out to some friends, and they were mentors of mine early on in my agent career, but Shelby Osborne, who's been on your podcast, and then Mike Glassby, they are the ones, I got connected with them early in 2020, and they were the ones who were basically like, hey man, like you got to get this meetup started. They had a checklist for it. They're huge into processes and stuff. They basically were just like, execute this checklist. Like, it'll be great. Trust me. So I did, and I owe so much to them. They've been great, and they're awesome, awesome people. But yeah, so we call it Pints and Properties. It's the same name that they use for their meetup, and they have one in Fayetteville and in Charlotte, North Carolina. But Pints and Properties, and then yeah, our whole thing, like there's lots of RIAs, and some real estate meetups will, not saying this is wrong or there's a right or wrong way to do it, but some will charge like membership fees. And we really wanted something that was just free for anyone to come. And our goal is to just try and add value to others. So we'll try and bring in like a speaker or someone in the real estate profession to teach us something about either investing or lending or creative financing, some type of strategy that can help investors, learn and, help them achieve their goals. And obviously there's a significant networking aspect to the meetup too. So after the speaker speaks, like people hang around and just network and talk real estate. But that's been a huge source of leads for us, even though like that wasn't really the intent. It was more just like, hey, let's just try and get out there, meet people, add value, network. But it's paid off really well for the team.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars listeners, this is a commercial break, but this is a quick commercial break for you guys. See, have any of you ever wanted to host your own podcast? Have any of you guys thought about launching a podcast, but it seemed overwhelming, didn't quite know what to do? Something that we're thinking about launching right now, or something that we're starting to launch right now, I don't know how many people we're going to help with, is we want to find listeners like you that want to launch their own podcast. It seemed a little bit overwhelming on what to do next. And we're going to start a service where we're going to help you guys figure out how to schedule your podcast, how to do the interviews. Our back-end team will do everything that we do for the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. We will edit the show for you. We will publish it. We will help you with your social media and your images to really grow it. So I think our plan right now is, 3 or 4 podcasts a month, or up to 3 or 4 podcasts a month. The cost will be between $500 and $1,000 a month to help you guys publish and launch your own podcast. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to reach out to us. Go find me on Instagram, send me a message on there. It's at Aaron Amucci Steak. All right, back to the podcast.
This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, shouldn't your printer be smart too? It is with HP Plus. These printers know when they're running low, so you always get the ink you need delivered right when you need it. Plus, you save up to 50% on ink, so you can print whatever you want, as much as you want, anytime you want. Huh, that is pretty smart. Get 6 free months of instant ink when you choose HP Plus. Conditions apply. Visit hp.com/smart for details.
When people lead with adding value, the rest follows. It's absolutely. And I think that even back to where at the beginning when you got your license, right? And it's like, not quite sure if you're going to use it yet. If you're a good person, if you're adding value, if you're the one that people can talk to, like, it becomes so easy. Pints and I love the meetup idea to get new first-time home buyers. Like the Pints and Properties, I've heard of several people that use that one. Kimberly Meserve's been on the podcast. She's done, hers is called Brews and Buying, is what I was pulling up. Same thing. Let's go to a bar. Let's do
alliteration there.
Yeah, so hers is Brews and Buying, your Pints and Properties. It's, hey, let's go to a bar. Let's sit down and hang out. And you can ask whatever questions you want. And yes, having a lender speak at one of them, having an escrow speak at one of them, being able to tell people, like, because buying a house seems, it's not easy. It's the biggest decision people are making. And it's simple, but you don't want to forget a step. And it's simple, and then having that list and having somebody guide you through that process. And then some people think it's so, like, there's no chance of buying that they won't even start the conversation of calling that first agent. And the best thing about those meetups is it helps people get confident enough to realize, like, okay, there's a lot of steps to do here, but we can do it. Or there's a lot of steps to do here, but there's pros that know how to do that. Well, Sean, this has been awesome talking to you. I want to give you some time to tell me about the internship program that you're doing. Before we hit recording on this, you and I said we're both fans of active military and retired military. I've hired a lot in my business. That was your story as you came out, and there's a lot of programs out there. I mean, I would love it if everybody in active military did exactly what you did. And a few months before they get out, they get licensed. They go through the process, they get licensed so they can hit the ground running. What is the program that you're doing? How does it work out there?
Yeah, so it's through SkillBridge, which is a Department of Defense backed program that helps transitioning service members. And basically it's an internship where that service member, while they're still active duty and for up to 6 months before they are officially out of the service, they can intern with a company in the industry that they're going to be working in when they get out. So during that 6 months, they're still getting paid. They're still getting all the benefits from their military job. But they're appointed place of duty. Instead of waking up and putting camis and boots on in the morning, they put on a polo shirt and flip-flops, and they come and intern with us and learn how to do real estate. And yeah, we're very passionate about helping veterans. Everyone on our team is either a veteran or the spouse of a veteran or active duty military member. And I love the work ethic that comes with just hiring military members, but it's just it's a win-win for everybody, because that service member during the internship, we have an onboarding, training plan that we have them go through, but included in that is they get their licensing courses knocked out. They get all set up with their license so that day one, once they're actually out, they're trained, they're confident, ready to hit the streets and, do deals.
Yeah. Well, I love that, man. I think that, so how can someone reach out to you? So if there's somebody in North Carolina who wants to take you up on that, or if there's somebody that's in a different state and they want to learn more about it, or a different brokerage that's out and they're saying, hey, we want to try to do that too, to help active duty people as they come out, how should people reach out to you when they have questions about today's show?
Yeah, thanks. So they can reach out to me through quietwatersrealtygroup.com, or my email is just my first name, Sean at quietwatersrealtygroup.com. That would be the best place.
Cool. So final question before we cut out. I saw this from the notes and I forgot to ask you about it. I don't want to. One of the tips you heard from the podcast, it said it's okay to be assertive as a real estate agent. Figure out when the time is and jump in and jump on it. I just want you to restate that, re-summarize it. What was the tip and how does it apply?
Yeah, I think it's a significant purchase like you were talking about, Aaron, probably the biggest most people will ever make. And so there's a hesitancy sometimes to being assertive and being a little bit more aggressive with your recommendations. And this obviously is case by case dependent, but sometimes you may know what your client wants before they do. And this is for people who you really build a solid relationship with, who you're working with, where you can get to know very well, so that you almost you're not just the agent anymore, you're their coach, potentially their advisor. So you have to sometimes be willing to have a harder conversation and be like, look, this property meets all your criteria. What is holding you up? Is there something else that's preventing you from taking action? And I've found that those conversations, while you might not necessarily look forward to them beforehand, you'll probably be grateful that you had them afterwards, because it just will help encourage them to take action for their benefit. Of course, not just because you're trying to chase commissions or chase closings, but it's got to be in the service of the client. But don't be afraid to, have those hard conversations and be a little more assertive when you need to.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't know how to make the decision. They're nervous. It's and they need you as the guide to be able to say, no, this is the right deal. Trust me, this is this is the time. No, we are supposed to do this at this time. I loved it as you said that and restated. I thought that was such an important thing. Well, Sean, it was great getting to know you today, man. Great to hear how successful you've been in just your first 18 months, or more than that, right? But you're less than 2 years in. By the end of this year, you said you're going to do 100 deals this year. You're on track. I think by next month, you'll have 70, 75 done. I want you to reach out to me, man. Tell me when you get those next ones in escrow so we could see if you hit your 100-unit goal for the year. The Real Estate Rockstars, I hope you guys have loved this. Sean, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Aaron, and thanks for everything that you do for this community. I love this podcast. It's so valuable, and you've really helped so many people through this. And thanks so much for having me on. It was an honor.
It is such an honor to get to talk to you, Sean, today. This was a lot of fun. Sean, thanks again for coming on Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks for listening. All right, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Muchastegi jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate. How to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronandmuchastegi.com for my personal Instagram page where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.